So, Johnsy, I'm really stoked that we could jump on this call today. So, obviously, you could be like broadly classified as being involved with digital marketing, but for obviously people who don't know you, kind of just like give some context, like what you're involved with these days, like how you would describe what you're doing, who you're working with, type of thing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. I think the best way to describe it is probably just a digital marketing agency. So, using digital marketing to help clients, get more clients basically, to help them get leads, get booked appointments, and make sales. So I suppose what we do is we start off with lead generation, um, and then we book appointments. We call the leads and we book an appointment for the client. And then we also train the client on how to actually do the sales side, because obviously you have to sell over Zoom these days. So we train them on how to do that. We give them like a slide deck and teach them how to actually use the slide deck and go through them, and we kind of audit um, those slide decks. And then I suppose there's all the bells and whistles that are included. Obviously there's lead gen, but then there's like CRMs and emails and recording phone calls and kind of all those bells and whistles that go in are involved, like calendar booking pages and all that kind of stuff, text messages and all that fancy automation stuff. But classically, it's probably a digital marketing agency, and we mainly help people in the finance space. So we've got a lot of accountants or people that are doing something called tax resolution, or they R&D tax credits, or even financial planners. So yeah, that's kind of the main stuff that we do. Yeah.
Okay, because I know we were just talking about it briefly that you went through kind of a bit of an accounting focus for yourself, and then you moved over into law, and then you've obviously moved on from there. But why did you? Was there a specific reason you went towards helping accountants, people in the tax resolution space? And what was the reasoning for that?
Yeah. So I suppose when we started doing outreach in the very beginning, we tried like a bunch of different places. Like I tried doctors and dentists and beauty places and all sorts of stuff. And the accountants, we just literally got the most amount of responses from. It seemed like they needed the most help. So we were just like, oh, well, these guys need a lot of help. So let's just like focus on them. And then that's what we did. And then we eventually got one client who we got him from a Facebook ad, and he was like, I do this thing. I have an accounting firm. I do that, but I don't want to grow that part of the business. I do this thing called tax resolution. And then I was like, okay, well, I have no idea what this is, but I'm willing to give it a bash. And then I just researched it. And that's actually a really cool niche, tax resolution. Their offers are very high ticket. Um, so like you get them one client, and geez, they can pay for your services for months on end. So that was a really, really nice space. So we kind of just fell into it coincidentally. And we, with that, with this tax resolution, we created this program called, which we basically call it a strategic partner program. And we create those for clients. That's kind of like the main thing that we're focusing on now, is helping people build out strategic partner programs. It's also like, still digital marketing, because we still do like partner lead generation. We show them how to sell the program and everything, and we book the appointments and stuff, still that whole spiel. And then it's got bells and whistles like the funnels and emails and whatnot, but the
Yeah.
main idea is to help them network basically in a very effective manner, like not a one-to-one networking, like a one-to-many networking. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, what do you mean by effective? Like, how would you kind of redefine that? How would you define that?
Yeah, I suppose instead of a scenario where like you go to, like one of these networking places like BNI, and you go and you talk to one person, you're like, okay, hello, this is what I do, this is what you do. Okay, well, potentially we could help each other. It's like very, very targeted in the sense of like, okay, these are the people that I want to go after because these people have my clients. Okay, so then let's formulate a lead generation strategy to get those people, right? Then we generate those leads, we call those people, we make sure that they don't have an existing partner, right? They don't have someone that they're actually working with currently or handing that work over to currently. Then we book them in for a meeting with the client, and then we give the client, a deck, a sales deck, so that we can systemize it, because our whole process is like, how can we systemize that so that the business owner is eventually not doing all of these kind of
Mhm.
rudimentary things. They can hire someone, or we can do it, or something like that, right? So we give them a sales deck that shows them how to take the person through. They take the person through. Then there's like an onboarding funnel that pulls them in, kind of, gets them to set themselves up, gets
Mm.
them to announce to their clients that they have this new service, and then
Mm.
helps them get clients and everything like that. So that's kind of like, I suppose that's a little bit technical there in some at least. But yeah, mostly it's basically trying to create a referral program. It's just we don't call it a referral program just because the finance space, people don't like referrals, or they
Yeah.
don't like, some people can't take referrals literally. So we call it a strategic partner program. Um, and then yeah, it just creates a very, very, very promising environment where someone shares a client with you, and then you give them a kickback, right? You remunerate them, you give them a consulting fee or whatever, and then they get a check, and then they're like, oh, this is real, and then they just start referring more and more to you. And yeah, it creates a really, really incredible environment. Like I was saying to you before, one client, he's gotten from one of his referral partners, gotten a lot, and now they've just given him a huge, huge deal that's
Yeah.
going to be worth like well over 200K. So it's like $200,000. So it's
Yeah.
really, really promising, and that's just because they built out a good relationship with someone, and that's the key. Because
Yeah.
you know yeah, and when I was speaking to him, and he was talking to a lot of people that have these very large firms or these very large businesses, he said like, what did you do different? And he gave him a whole list of things that he did, and he just looked at me and said, okay, I understand that, but what is the number one thing you did? And he said, the number one thing I did was I got people to give me referrals. I got people to give me clients. This word of mouth kind of process. And in the finance space, that's quite a good, powerful thing, because people need, it's just far easier, obviously in any business, it's far easier to trust someone that you know than that
Yeah.
you don't know. But with finance specifically, you're gonna want maybe someone that you know or you're comfortable with. So that's also why it just is such a powerful thing to do. And once someone refers one person to you and they get paid for it, geez, then they're just gonna, then it's real, and then their brains are like, okay, I need to do this again, because it's basically free money for them. They don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah, there's
so
also
it's
there's so much
powerful.
value though in, like, let's say my expertise is X and yours is Y. Like there's still so much value to my customers if they can come to me and they, in the back of their mind, they know, like, Gavin knows someone for everything, and the person does a good job as well. So like, hey, I need to get Y done, but I have no idea who to speak to. And like for me to be able to say like, hey, I actually don't do that, but I do know someone brilliant who does. Like I already trust them. Like I'm happy to introduce you guys. Like that brings me value as well to my customer, because they know they can always like rely on you for something almost.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I draw this analogy quite a lot, which is like, say for example, let's just use a really rudimentary example. Say for example, you love the specific type of cheese, right? You love a specific type of cheese, right? It's very odd, but you love it, right? And there's only really one shop like in your town or whatever that has this cheese. And you go to that shop and they have a bunch of other stuff that you like as well. So you buy the cheese and you do like some good shopping there as well. Now what happens is, across the road from that place, they start to stock the cheese. But now they're stocking the cheese, but they're also cheaper. So then you're like, oh wow, I can get the cheese plus I can save. And then you go to that place and you notice they also have other things that you also buy. So now you just do the shopping there, and you never end up going to that other place, because you just go to that new place that has the same product plus other products, plus it's cheaper, right? So
Mm.
there's so much benefit for you to just go to that one place instead of going to both of them. And that's the same concept of what happens to a lot of these business owners. It's like, say it's an accountant, or say it's like someone in the finance space. Their client comes to them and says, hey, I really need help with my tax. I really need help with like my, retirement or whatever, right? They need help with that. And then you as an accountant or whatever you are, you say, well, I don't do that. I don't know. Just go Google it, or go to Joe Schmo over there down the road, or go to that person
Yeah.
right there, just randomly pointing people, no real cohesive or like direct approach. That person goes to that person, or they just go Google it or whatever. They just go off on their own. And then they basically get sold that they should just stick with them. And then they leave that person just to go with this other person. The same thing as the cheese scenario, that you just leave because they've got everything that you want plus more. So you might as well just leave. And that happens a lot to a lot of business owners. They don't even know why their client leaves, but it's because they couldn't actually deliver every single option to them.
Interesting.
Um,
But
yeah, so that's why
when
it's
you say deliver
powerful. Yeah.
every option, do you mean not necessarily deliver it themselves, but they can
Yeah.
deliver direction? So it's like, hey, I need a lawyer. You're my accountant. I know you don't do that, but do you know anyone? You're like, yeah, absolutely. This person's the best, or like this person would help your situation amazingly, type of thing.
Yes, and even the way you frame it is that it's part of your business. It's like, oh yes, this is our partner. This is our strategic partner. He services all of our clients in this area. He's an extension of our business. Like
Mm,
that, framing it in that way, it's like, oh, then you're the go-to person for all these things. It's not like that partner is the hero. You're the hero. That partner is just doing the service. He's just doing the
yeah.
service. You're actually the main, like, kind of front man. So you're always the face. So you maintain value as like the business owner, and you
Mm,
also maintain a reputation as someone that can always solve your problem.
yeah.
Because you have these extensions of your skill set. You have these other businesses which are basically partnered with you,
Yeah.
and that
I
creates
mean,
like a real kind of like ring fence scenario.
yeah. I mean, the piece you mentioned about reputation, that's also like super important because it's like that means if I refer someone I don't fully 100%, if I refer you to someone who I don't fully 100% believe in, like that's going to have a negative impact on my reputation as well. So it's like
Yeah.
ideally you're only actually referring your clients or your friends to people who you actually trust that are good and going to do like what they need to do.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly the whole story. Is
Yeah.
that it's trust, and like obviously that's what marketing and sales is. It's like building that trust and developing that relationship so that someone does feel comfortable enough to give you money so that you do the work for them. But I mean, you can avoid all of that stuff. It's just like you can avoid and remove so much pain and friction for your customer by just having someone that is going to deliver a great service for them. Plus,
Mm,
you obviously get remunerated, you get kickbacks and stuff like that. And again, once again, like that customer is not looking elsewhere. They're not talking to other professionals trying to and those other professionals don't care because they have no relation to you. So they don't care if they take your client. Whereas your strategic partner, he's not going to try and do that because you're referring him business. So he'd rather lose out on a customer doing one service with him, or like taking a customer, um, than actually risking that relationship, because it's such a long term and such a valuable thing.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, you mentioned that you went. I mean, you kind of focused on the accountants and people in the financial space because they were bringing up these like pain, frustrations. Like, what type of things were they saying to you, or was it like, yeah, I mean, kind of how did those things show themselves?
Yeah, I suppose mainly accountants have never done marketing before. The only way they've ever known to get clients is word of mouth.
Mm,
Um, they're very old school. They're not moving with the times. But what happened with COVID was that this forced accountants into the digital space. It
mm,
forced them. And what else it made them realize, not only that, it made them realize that they could operate a 100% remote business, that they can operate 100% online. They don't actually need offices. They don't need anything. They're a digital business, like a digital marketing agency. An accountant is digital. They don't actually need any of this stuff. They're not like a construction company that is like very physical business. It's like a
yeah,
very physical business. Whereas an accountant, it's like you need the person's documents, or you just need access to QuickBooks, or whatever kind of accounting software they're doing, or if they're just using Google Sheets or Excel sheets. It's terrible to do that, but if they are, you still have access to all of that because it's all digital based. So you don't actually need to operate a business like that. So that is when I see that they realized, oh my goodness, the space is actually killer. And then they're like, okay, well, let me actually do this thing online. And that was a big thing. I think COVID actually helped with that respect, 100%. It forced
Yeah.
everybody to realize, oh, I have a digital business.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of level did a lot of the people, well, when you first started working with them or when you first started having conversations, what type of level were a lot of them at in regards to tech and knowing what things they needed to have in place type of thing?
I've probably met hundreds and hundreds, maybe even 1,000 accountants and stuff like that. And I could probably say there's probably 3 or 4 that actually knew what was up.
Oh, wow. Well, what
So
do you
it's
mean
a
by what
very,
was it?
very low ratio. Like they legitimately knew like what I was talking about. Or I could have like a detailed conversation about some of the technical stuff. They would know the words, like they would maybe know the word lead magnet, or they would know things like that. Some of the industry lingo, they would know that, and they would maybe even have some of those systems set up. Like they would tell me, no, I have a nurturing sequence, I have this sequence, I have automated billing, I have this stuff, and like that is like very, very few. I would say maybe less than 1% of people in the finance space actually really have that stuff set up. They don't. They just aren't very clued up on tech, and they're also some of them are very afraid of tech. Oh, look, a lot of them are old school, like very old school business owners. They believe in shaking hands, seeing each other face to face. They still have some of these mindsets, um, which obviously is good and bad, but obviously you have to transition. So
Hmm.
yeah, definitely a space that needs work.
Yeah. I mean, knowing that such a small percentage of the people you were speaking with and starting to work with didn't have like that technical knowledge, maybe they were kind of overwhelmed by all that type of stuff. Does that also does that also impact the way you kind of onboard people, like the way you kind of ease them into the processes?
Yeah, it definitely means that it's like onboarding and stuff. I can't really expect them to really onboard themselves too successfully, at least. So we kind of like go through the onboarding with them and make sure it's done, with them. It's like we try and make it as frictionless as possible, because obviously systems wise, they're just not going to know what the story is or how to do it or what the purpose is. And they're also they're very sensitive to their reputation as
Mm,
accountants or people in the finance space, because really, your reputation really is everything in that sense. But when it comes to finance, it's like a very specific thing. Well, not necessarily, but at least to them, it's a very specific thing, right? That if they ruin their reputation, because that's their word of mouth, that's how they see they've always gotten clients. So their reputation means a lot. So yeah, it definitely is framing and getting them to see the world in a different way, because they could be even just afraid just to message people. They could
mm,
literally just be afraid to send a message on LinkedIn or on Facebook. They could be terrified,
yeah.
because they're like, wait, that's not professional. I've heard that so much. Like, that's not professional. And then I have to just, I'm like, what does that even mean? What is not professional? What is professional? Like, because I guarantee you there's another accountant out there that's like spam messaging people, and
Mm,
they're eating your lunch. Like, do you think your client cares like how you actually contact them? They just care about the result. They want their problem solved. So a lot
yeah.
of it is like getting to deal with some of the mindsets that they've developed over the years. um, Definitely learning lessons there, some expensive learning lessons there, but ones nonetheless. Yeah, it's definitely something you have to take into consideration, how your niche basically sees the world. Yeah, crucial
Interesting.
stuff.
Yeah. So it's not even just the technical knowledge and hey, you're gonna have these things set up for you now. You're gonna be having to check these things. It's also like, hey, you're gonna have to potentially do these things you've never done before, but this is just how it is in the digital world. This is kind of like how the processes work these days.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously there's fear around the tech, definitely, but then there's like fear around how you use the tech,
Mm,
and it's like because they're just not used to, they're used to like certain things and getting clients a certain way and relate in conversations going a certain way.
Yeah.
Because if it's a word of mouth referral, it's like 90% sold,
Yeah.
right? Whereas you're doing cold lead generations, you're generating cold leads, you're warming them up, you're nurturing them, taking them through a process, and just basically to just get them to that place where they're 90%.
Yeah.
It's a lot more. There's a lot more to it. You have to put in a lot more energy and focus into that. It's not as easy as a word of mouth referral. So yeah, with cold traffic, it's basically just more complicated, and it's teaching them that it's like there's this other world, it's called cold traffic, and that's what we're going to do to generate, because that's where the masses are.
Yeah. And how
Yeah.
quickly when you start working with people and they come in sometimes with those like mindsets and like fears, how quickly do you find some of them warm up to it? Like, is there like almost like an average time that you see, like it kind of clicks in their brain? They're like, oh, this isn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we've got some good mindset training and some stuff like that actually takes them through that process and gets them comfortable with, like in the mindset training, I show them like that people are 100% going to say mean things. They're going to say mean things, because I think that's a big fear, that like someone says something mean about me, like they're
Yeah.
going to say mean things about you. Just so like, and I show them a screenshot of a client where people are like saying this is a scam and stuff like that. 100% not a scam. 100% they were lying, or maybe they just misunderstood what it was. But
Yeah.
people legitimately wrote comments, made stuff up. 100% made stuff up, and they wrote scam and stuff like that. They didn't know what they were talking about at all. And I explained that, and I'm like, people are just going to say mean things. It's not your fault. It's like, it's no one's fault. They could just misunderstand or misread it or misinterpret a situation. But you have to be comfortable and know that you're not there to serve those people. You're there to serve the people that actually want their problem solved. And it's just kind of talking to that, because they're thinking they want to serve the whole world, or like, you ask them, who do you want to work with? It's like asking a company that sells water, so what's your niche? Well, everybody drinks water. So everybody, it's like, no, that's not your niche. Not everybody can't be your niche. So it's like having to like, talk through some of these issues and get them down to like, okay, you need to be specific, because we need to talk to a human being here. We're not talking to the whole world.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a very interesting approach to kind of have mindset training, take them through, hold their hand basically, and take them through this learning journey, because that's what they're doing. They're doing something for the first time, all of them.
No, that's exciting. I mean, for you, that must also, I mean, you kind of naturally ended up working with accountants after going through, you were mentioning dental practices and beauty practices and stuff like that, beauty salons. But it must be nice to see this, like someone go from this industry that's very quite old school and they were maybe very closed off to these things. And now they're
Mm.
like kind of get into the groove of this. They're like, oh, I didn't know I could even do these type of things.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. Some of them I preach to the choir, so which is really nice, because some of them have gone coaching. If as soon as I know like a client has had coaching before or anything like that, then I know, okay, they're on board. They're on board with whatever I say. I don't really have to push so hard the mindset training and stuff. They'll watch it still and everything, because they've gone coaching before, so they know that I should do what the coach says. They know
Mm,
that.
interesting.
So it really are. If they're coachable, just that is the best thing in the entire world. If they're not coachable, I'm not as excited, because it's quite difficult to get them through the process. And then like they really need like hand holding and mindset training and all that stuff. But if they're coachable, which is very often, we're filtering out the ones that aren't coachable now, because it's just the ones that are coachable get better results. It's simple,
Yeah,
because they listen to what we say and they do what we say. If
yeah,
you if you don't, if I tell you to color that red and you say no, I'm going to make it blue, I'm like, I'm telling you, you need to do this red, and they make it blue and then it doesn't work. And obviously it's like, I can only do so much. I can't force you to do things.
yeah,
It can only influence, right? So we're just trying to get people that are more on that line. And yeah, look, accountants are fantastic. Um, They really are fantastic. Obviously, there's bad apples or there's bad eggs in every single industry, but most of the time they're very kind people, want to do good things for their clients, very ethical, very moral, sometimes to a fault, 100%, but at least they're starting off that with a good foot, that they actually care. I mean, I once went after lawyers, no bad rep to lawyers, I have a law degree, but they're horrible. They're like, are honestly like mean people. They're like very aggressive. They don't want to listen to you. They're very confrontational because they're fictitious, right? They'll just like, you do something, they'll just sue you, and they'll just threaten you all the time with like suing you and stuff. So it's not fun to work. Well, at least I don't find them fun to work with, right? I'm sure some people love that, but I didn't like that at all. I wanted someone like, you know, a little bit more level-headed in that sense, not so, I suppose, full of themselves, if I could say it like that. At least with a lawyer, it's like they, at any moment, it's like they can just sue you. So they know they have that in their back pocket. They're like, I'll just sue you. And that makes it a little bit of a confrontational situation. So they might just not listen to you. That's what I mean.
No, it's interesting. I wonder if it's also related to like the focus of that lawyer. Like if they are, say, because like you obviously got lawyers who do say company mergers, or you have ones who go handle divorces in court. Like actually, now I think about it, it's often like there's a winner and there's a loser. So it's like maybe they're
Yeah.
also in that mindset of someone always has got to win. Like you kind of be hard like that. Okay, and we're back. So we dropped out there for a sec. Laptop technology woes.
Yeah.
But that was actually a good point for us to kind of start wrapping up. I really liked the part that you mentioned though about you like specifically working with people who are almost coachable. Like they're open to change, they're open to try new things. Because like, yeah, that's also something I've found is so important just with myself. And I know how much coaching you've as well done for yourself. It's like, yeah, if you're going to kind of push on these old mindsets, which weren't getting you where you want to be, like with your accountants, they weren't getting the clients they wanted. Now things had to move digitally. But then if they still push against, no, I don't want to try this, I don't want to do this, I mean, then you can't help them. Like you can't force someone to change their mindsets or improve type of thing.
Yeah, totally, totally true. That's why it's like, don't get clients like that. Just say no to those ones, because it's just going to be a bigger headache for you in the end. It's like funny. You think it's like going to help you because you need a client, but you don't need that client. You're just
Yeah.
like in a moment of desperation or something. Rather just wait, because there's going to be a coachable client that's going to come your way, and they're going to be your dream client. And then, yeah, you'll get them great results, and then you'll attract more dream clients. So that's the key. That's why we've been mostly just getting more of our ideal clients now, instead of just like people that aren't really coachable and stuff.
No, absolutely. And so if anyone wanted to see kind of more about what you're doing, or they wanted to reach out to you, what's like the best way for them to do that? What's for them to check?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Instagram, just my personal page, or you can go to our website or business website. My Instagram is, my handle is Jonathan H Solomon, so just one word, Jonathan H Solomon, and then our website is accountingclientsaccelerator.com. So accountingclientsaccelerator.com. It's quite a long name, but you can check us out there. That's our website, where we basically have like client interviews. You can see what we're up to and some articles there on what we do and whatnot.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the time. Like I said, I really enjoyed that aspect about that you came up at the end about the having working with people who are coachable, and like not that you're a coach, but it's like people who are open to new mindsets,
Yeah,
trying new things.
definitely, because you have to lead people, so they need to be able to be led. If they're not going to be willing to be led, then just it's going to make a weird scenario where you're trying to lead someone to water, and they're like, nope, I'm not going with you. Not even going to go with you to water, let alone try and get them to drink.
Yeah, yeah. But awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Cool. Awesome stuff.
Thanks, John. See you.